Hello, and welcome to the season finale of El Dino, only on RioRadio.ca, and from the Media Hub as well. I'm doing things a little different today. So normally I have myself talking about dinosaurs. I've been covering Canadian dinosaurs so far this year, but today's a little different. I am joined by Justin Atkins, of no relation to me, and Justin here is going to ask me a lot of big questions about dinosaurs, and we're going to kind of just talk about it and kind of recap El Dino from the season. And then in the new year, I will finish up what I started here. So, Justin, you've been teching behind the scenes for a long time, for most of it. Actually, I think all of El Dino since it came back. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Yeah, honestly, just going into the show being a tech, I have like zero dinosaur knowledge. So I think that's like the biggest thing to really highlight is that like outside of watching Jurassic Park here and there and maybe Land Before Time, I know nothing about dinosaurs. And I would say that like, it's one of my favorite shows to watch and be a part of because it's really like short and to the point. It doesn't drag on for like 10 years. Like it's something that I could watch in 20 minutes and really understand what's going on. And I think that's like a big testament to you.
Also, I don't pay Justin, so everything he's saying here is from the heart, not from the paycheck. Just saying.
So I'd say like the biggest thing about taking the show behind the scenes, going into it with such a blind eye, I do really enjoy just listening to what you have to say, the graphics you pull up, the facts you speak. So it's definitely a great show to be a part of in some way, shape, or form. And I'm just happy to be on for an episode. Yeah.
So to recap the season, I started off talking about some just dinosaur news. It wasn't even dinosaurs. It was prehistoric reptile, or it was actually just a whale and a big cat and something else. And then I started talking about, I thought, what's cool? Prehistoric dinosaurs. Mm-hmm. All dinosaurs are prehistoric pretty much, but Canadian dinosaurs. So to start us off, if you've gone back and checked out the episodes, I started off with 3 dinosaurs an episode, and that was a lot for me. That was a lot of research. I'd spend like a day and a half doing it, maybe even more sometimes. We started with Acrocanthosaurus, Albertoceratops, and Albertosaurus. So that was the first week. Second week was Anchiceratops, Ankylosaurus, and a Rhinoceratops, which his name means no nose, which is strange when it comes to ceratopsians. Then I did Brachylophosaurus, Centrosaurus, and Chasmosaurus, and that was all in the third week. And then things started getting a little funky, fresh. We went from 3 dinosaurs to 3 again, sort of. There was Chirotsinotsits and Corythosaurus, which Justin actually picked out.
Yep. He
remembered it. And then we had Dysplatosaurus, Dromaeosaurus, and Droseomimus. And then it all fell apart. And then it was just 1 dinosaur a week. So we have Edmontonia, Edmontosaurus, and Europlocephalus. Actually, I was still doing all 3 at a time. Gorgosaurus, Gryposaurus, and Hypacrosaurus. Lambiosaurus, Leptoceratops, Ornithomimus, Pachycephalosaurus, Pachyrhinosaurus, Panoplosaurus, which is just fun to say. Panopla. Panopla. It's fun. Parksosaurus, Prosaurolophus, and then last episode I covered Saurolophus. Mm-hmm. So that's the big ones. That's 29 I've covered so far, and we have 7 left for the next season.
Yep, almost there.
So from all that, Justin's written some questions, and again, I don't pay him, so he's just doing this from the kindness of his heart. Justin, take it away if you would.
Yeah, so first of all, before we even begin, just to reiterate my point, I had zero knowledge about dinosaurs watching the show, so this is now coming from someone that has. Now I do have knowledge, to be fair, from you, but still outside from me, I don't really keep up with the paleontology world.
I'm also not an expert by any means. It's all self-taught.
So for me, I think these are good questions, so I hope they'll be okay for this episode.
Yeah, totally.
But first off, just to backpack off everything you just said there, what has been your favorite dinosaur to research before actually making an episode?
That's a good question. So since no one's really in the office except for the crew when I'm researching things, I'll pause and be like, did you guys know this? Or did you guys know that? So for me, that's tough.
I know. Put you on the spot there.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think my favorite recently actually has been Saurolophus. The most recent one. because I did something totally different. I went to Wikipedia and Prehistoric Wildlife, shout out Prehistoric Wildlife, when the website actually works. And I just printed off the entire page, and I went through it with a highlighter and highlighted it, and then I put it into a Word doc, skimmed it, put it into a script, then kind of skimmed that and fixed that up. So I think for amount of work and just doing the time, and also that was the first dinosaur that I talked about that the Canadian version didn't have much.
Yep.
So it was mostly Mongolian. So it was kind of cool. So I think Saurolophus is definitely my favorite so far.
Nice,
but we have some
go.
big ones left, the 7. So
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. So moving on then. So one dinosaur that did catch my eye was from week 3. So it was the Chasmosaurus, the one that you did mention there.
Okay.
But the reason why it caught my eye when you recorded it back when is because it was very similar to the Triceratops, to me at least. So is it common for a lot of dinosaurs to be different species, yet share so much in common with other species, even, I guess, beyond just Canadian ones? Is that like a common thing?
Yes and no. So like, Chasmosaurus is a ceratopsian.
Okay.
So it is related to Triceratops. Ceratopsians are pretty easy because like if they have a frill and a horn, they're probably related. But for the most part, some of them share different properties, but not a ton. So like out of all these, Anchiceratops, Iraноceratops, Centrosaurus, and Chasmosaurus. Leptoceratops and Pachyrhinosaurus are all related.
Okay.
So they're all ceratopsians. So for the most part, like a Gorgosaurus and a Displetosaurus are both theropods, but it's like saying it's like the Carnivora genus. So saying like a dog and a panther both have teeth.
Okay.
So it's not incorrect, but it's also like more so the family is there, and then there's similar traits.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That hopefully I did a good job explaining.
Yeah, no, for me, like I mentioned, when I saw the Chasmosaurus for the first time,
Yeah.
and again, this is week 3, so this is only your 3rd episode, and I still have very little knowledge. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I could at least like understand what this is and hear the words.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was one that I definitely want to, I guess, spin back on. So this is another interesting one. So bear with me with the names, but when I was looking at your paper beforehand, you had provided me with this is just a sheet of paper here of all the dinosaurs that Eldon's covered, and I noticed that there are similarities in a lot of ones. So a lot of dinosaurs that you covered share a lot of similarities with lizards.
Yes.
And so ones that I referenced include the Coryothosaurus,
Yep.
the Gorgosaurus, and the Pachyloplisaurus, just to name a few.
Yep.
Does this mean that technically a lizard is the closest thing we have to a dinosaur today in Canada?
No.
Okay.
So the name Saurus comes from the Greek for lizard.
Okay.
So all these naming conventions are based off of the Greek. So in Greek, and a lot of these is it's Latin or old. It's Greek. So like Acrocanthosaurus. So acro being I think it means spine, and then cantho is like high, and then saurus. So if you break it down phonetically, it's almost like noun, but it always ends up in lizard.
Okay.
So saurus is just Latin, and it also comes from a time when paleontologists didn't really know that birds are our dinosaurs' closest living relatives. So it was a time when paleontologists were like, you know what, looks like a lizard. You know what do we have today? Lizards. Cool, call it.
Okay, sweet.
So,
Yeah, that one definitely caught my eye just because, like, again, there's a lot of like running lizard here. We got a high spine lizard, to your point there, well armored lizard. So I was like, you know what?
If it ends in saurus, it means lizard. If it ends in mimus, it means mimic. And then if you look a lot to like through this, and I know the folks at home can't really see it, but like Leptoceratops, tops usually means face or head.
Okay, so some dinosaur terms there. Yeah.
So in the top, it's probably head. If it ends in mimus, it's mimic. And if it ends in saurus, it's lizard.
Nice. Okay, there you go. So another thing that did catch my eye were a lot of the names. So, you know, Albertosaurus, Edmontosaurus.
Yep.
Obviously, those are named after Alberta and Edmonton.
Yep.
Because they were discovered in those places in the world.
Yeah.
So is that like a common practice in the world of paleontology, or is that kind of exclusive to
From what I've
Canadian
seen,
dinosaurs?
I think it's pretty much based off of first discoveries. If you discovered the Albertosaurus, which just means Alberta lizard, or Albertoceratops, which just means Alberta horn-faced, normally it's kind of like you don't have anything to base it off of.
Okay.
So you're kind of like, okay, I found Alberta, put it in here. But then you're like, again, all these dinosaurs have been found in Canada. And
Canada, yeah.
for the most part, all of them have been found in Alberta.
Yeah.
And you don't really see Calgaryusaurus.
Yeah.
Calgary's not, I guess, the place to go. It's a stampede. They got one thing going. But Edmonton has tons of dinosaurs. Like Drumheller, like there's so many cool things there. So You can name them after it, but it's also kind of names for who's there. So like when I talk about Parksosaurus just means Park's lizard.
Okay.
So, and that was named, but he discovered it, named something different. And when people came back and said like, "Ooh, he was actually wrong. We'll rename it." And they, but again, he tried his best, so it could be Park's lizard. So it's kind of based on like what you find. It can kind of be complicated though too, because like Centrosaurus, which means pointed lizard, it wasn't found like central Alberta, but it all depends. It's all like based on phonetics. It's also based on who finds it.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah,
I just
caught my eye
them after themselves a lot. So
yeah, maybe we'll get to that later on. Who knows?
Yep.
But okay, cool. So yeah, overall, you know, just with those questions, I just wanted to get some out of the way about what you've actually covered.
Yep.
Now, so I did want to ask too. So, like I said at the top of the episode, I don't really know a lot about dinosaurs going into the show, but I have seen like the Land Before Times of the World, The Good Dinosaur, Jurassic Park. So
you named two really bad ones to start with.
Well, which is good though. So like I would say that your show is very informative and it's like a realistic take on dinosaurs. So switching I guess to like the mainstream media side of things, do you think that mainstream media has the same effect on dinosaurs with those franchises? Like how would you kind of view that?
I think so. I think for the most part too, like I grew up with like Harry and his bucket full of dinosaurs. That was kind of even out of my wheelhouse because I must have been 10 when it came out. And then there's still Dino Train, there's still Dino Dan. Not our boss. There's still a bunch of like other shows I think do a really good job of actually doing a scientific thing. There's a really good podcast I listen to called I Know Dino, based out of the States. They are fantastic. And they do episodes kind of just covering news, then they cover one dinosaur that's been requested, and then they kind of finish up. It all kind of depends though, right? Like I find what killed me as a kid, I watched Walking with Dinosaurs, which wasn't, for the time, it was a fantastic documentary. And at the time of 3-year-old Eldin, I was having the time of my life. I was like, this is cool. But then I watched Land Before Time, and I was like, oh. Once you put like a personality, and The Good Dinosaur, they're cowboys. I don't think dinosaurs are ever cowboys. But that being said, like, I'm not here to hate on like stuff that I don't agree with, but like it's just like almost too kiddie for me. But I think at the same time too, like we know Jurassic Park has no dinosaurs from the Jurassic period. At all. They have Cretaceous and Triassic. Which, if we say the Jurassic's here, okay, like Stegosaurus and a T-Rex. T-Rex is closer to us than it was to Stegosaurus. Like living
really,
like time-wise, yeah.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
100, I think it's 145 million years to like 65 million.
Damn.
So you had 145 million years in Stegosaurus walking around the Earth, 65 from the T-Rex and us. So it kind of depends. I just love to see any kind of dinosaur media.
Yep, no, that's totally fair.
Yeah, there's a new dinosaur horror game that came out. I don't know what it's called, but it looks pretty cool. It looks pretty cool.
Well, this will lead straight into my next question then. So kind of backpacking off of that, we've seen the newer reboots of the Jurassic Park franchise that takes a bit more of like the horror aspect on it. We do see something called the Indominus Rex, which is a man-made hybrid dinosaur. Could there have been any natural crossbreeded dinosaurs, such as different species, I guess, breeding with each other to create an offspring kind of like the Indominus Rex?
Yeah, so I think like with hybridization, you never know.
Okay.
Like a mule is a hybrid of a donkey and a horse. You know, a liger is it's a lion and a tiger. And then you get stuff like, you can call it a zorse, which is like a zebra and a horse. I don't know enough to tell you for sure if there could be hybrids, because again, like at the time, usually these dinosaurs filled very big niches. And like a Triceratops was like 45 feet long, while like Centra was like 25, 30. That's a huge difference in size.
Yeah.
That's a monster comparatively. So the body wouldn't work. I mean, if you're 30 feet trying to get with something that's 15 more feet than you, not going to happen. That's like a whole different world.
Yeah, literally.
But, and this is the thing too. So there's a situation that happened in, I think it was either one of the islands in the Galapagos. They started finding these birds that had the plumage of one type of bird, but the feathers of a different type of bird. And they're like, okay, what's happening? It's its own species, and it was just a hybrid. But I don't believe the hybrids are viable. By that, I mean they couldn't lay eggs. They couldn't be sexually reproductive. So could a hybrid have happened? Yes. Would it have been fossilized? That's such a small chance. Because and the crazy thing is too, all the dinosaurs we see now, we think it's maybe a fifth of the percentage of all the dinosaurs that ever existed.
Really? Eh?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Because it has to do with the ground it was on when it got fossilized, the conditions. Because, excuse me, you can't just have a dinosaur dying and just gets it's fossilized. It has to have the proper ground, has to have the proper situation. So You never really know, but I would love to see if one day we can actually pull that and be like, yeah, for sure this did happen.
Yeah.
I mean, if humans could hybridize with Neanderthals, maybe, but yeah.
Well, there you go. I definitely needed to bring that one up though, just because
It's
again,
a cool topic. Honestly, it's that opens your mind. You're like,
Yeah.
holy, could it have happened? Maybe.
And like, when I was watching Jurassic World, again, this is me at like, I think I would have been 13.
Yep.
I'm watching it and it's like, oh my God, the Indominus Rex, like that's 13. I think it was 2015 it came out, right? Yeah, so I would have been 13 or 12, depending on what time of year it came out. Yeah. So just like the Indominus Rex concept is such like an interesting one because it's like, it's obviously a man-made hybrid. So it's like, I wonder if there was just a natural hybrid.
The thing too that kind of ruined it for Jurassic, like I love Jurassic Park. Jurassic World kind of ruined it because it's monster movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when you take a cuttlefish's cloaking abilities, and cuttlefish don't cloak, and like octopuses don't cloak. They look at their environment, and they can change their skin to match the pigment, and they can change parts of their skin to kind of like stick out at certain spots, but like it's not like it's going to blend in like a chameleon or like a predator and just like disappear. That's how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
well, that was just a crazy mind of the directors with that one.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So moving on. This is an interesting one, so I hope you're able to say this one on the spot. Give your answer.
We're gonna hope.
So I hope I'm saying this right, but the Lambriosaurus, is that how I say it? It's Lambriosaurus.
Yep.
So this one here.
Yep.
The Lambriosaurus is named after Canadian paleontologist Lawrence Morris Lamb.
Yep.
If Eldin Atkin could name a dinosaur after himself, what would it be called?
That's a really good question. This would be a dream of mine if I could find something again as like a wannabe paleontologist and zoologist, like. I mean, Eldinosaurus would be hilarious, but it has to like make sense.
Yeah.
Like it'd be like, because like again, Parksosaurus would be named after parks, so it'd be like Eldinzosaurus. But I don't actually. I think that would actually, if it was Parksosaurus, it'd just be like, it'd be Eldinsosaurus, which would be kind of cool. But I don't know. I think I might do the world a favor and do it with the Atkin, just so like you might not know, but you're like, yeah, it's my dinosaur. Atkinsosaurus would be kind of cool. I don't know, it's tough. It also depends on like what it is, because again, like I'll take my jacket off to show, but like Carnotaurus just means meat-eating bull or meat bull if you really look at it, and it's just a dinosaur with horns and it makes it look at. And then Dilophosaurus, I don't know what Dilophosaurus even means. I wish I did, but like they change how it looks in media. So like I would love to have a dinosaur, but I have to like see it too. Like with my luck, it'd be like a dinky squirrel-sized lizard thing, and be like, yeah, I got stepped on a lot. Oh, there's my lizard. Check him out. Squishosaurus.
Yeah,
like,
literally.
Why not?
Yeah, I just thought it was so cool when I was researching him specifically, because I'm like, yo, Canadian paleontologist.
And here's the thing too.
Yeah.
And this is something I kind of mentioned. If you go back and look at like way back Eldinos, the bone wars were a thing, which was when paleontologists were paying people to steal, destroy, burn down, like Morris, like Lamb.
That's crazy.
Who's it? Lamb, and then like Parks and a bunch of other people. Like they weren't good people. Like they were like, it was almost like like trying to find El Dorado. Like if you got a part of the map, you're like, no one's getting this from me.
Yeah,
I will kill.
That's crazy.
This.
Yeah.
So you think of it, and you're like a bunch of like middle-aged men hiring hitmen on each other, or like hiring people to go and destroy a bunch of bones. Another thing too is
the bone wars.
Yeah, unfortunately, during World War II, we lost a ton of stuff. Like any museum bombed in Berlin, Moscow, England, they're gone forever now. So that if we got lucky and we have papers left, but we don't have the bones.
Yeah.
So that's why don't bomb museums. Take that away from them. If you're going to start a world war, do not bomb museums. They don't deserve it.
Yep, amen to that. Well, okay, cool. So as we do wrap it up, I do have my final question for you. So obviously we do know that you've covered 29 dinosaurs so far.
Yep.
You have 7 left.
Yes.
Can we get an insight of, I guess, what's next for the El Dino show? We
can. So currently I have 7 left. I have Stegosaurus, which is not Stegosaurus. Sorry, Justin. Struthomymus, which I've kind of talked about. Styracosaurus, which is one of my favorite ceratopsians. It's got like a saber nose. Tentanosaurus. Oh man, this is a tough one. Thescelosaurus, Torosaurus, and Tyrannosaurus. So T-Rex is last, and I kind of put that by definition. I kind of made T-Rex last. There might be more, but I'm excited for that. I also want to reference that like the first ever El Dino I did that Justin saw was about giant ground sloths. That might have been like burrowing and like so. I want to get back to my roots of talking about prehistoric mammals as well. It's tough when you say it's Eldino because like Eldino translates to the dinosaur. But I'm gonna cover those 7 dinosaurs. Hopefully, I'll get them out in 7 episodes. Maybe. I mean, T-Rex is big enough to have its own episode, and we keep finding out crazy things about T-Rex.
Yeah,
and it's also like the best dinosaur in Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. It always is the hero somehow, even though it's the villain. So I think for the future, more Eldino. Going to cover those last 7 dinosaurs. We're not going to be back until the new year, unfortunately. Now that we're on our last week of work before the holidays, so we'll be back in January. I'm excited, but also it's going to be a busy year too. Yep. So if we get lucky, it'll be a random Friday. I think if anything, I'll just start doing research and writing scripts, and then if I have time, we have time. If not, we don't. Yep. So. That's the hope, but I really appreciate you actually putting those questions together.
Thanks for having me on, man. I wanted to do this for a while now, so I'm glad that we found the time to do it before this.
Fantastic, yeah.
Awesome. So thank you again.
Thank you. So, just want to say thanks everybody for the fantastic semester. Thank you guys. I mean, Dan, Evan, Justin, you guys make the show what it is. I couldn't do it without you guys. Dan made the theme song for Eldino, which is fantastic. it's a bop, as the kids say, and the show logo too. Yeah. And took the photo as well. Without Dan, this show was nothing. Yeah, Dan you couldn't hear him on talkback, but he took the photo. He made the logo.
Oh yeah.
And when prehistoric wildlife went down, Dan found the archived data that I had to use, but now it's back. So so the show, as much as I am the face of Eldino, Dan is the backbone. And Dan does start with D, like dinosaur starts with D. So pretty much Dan is a dinosaur. We've confirmed it. And thank you as always, though. So guys, like I couldn't do this without you guys. Thank you so much. I love the show. It's been extinct. Oh, Cody, right? Thank you. Thank you. This show's been extinct 3 times and come back. I just won't go. So thank you guys for being here. My name is Eldin Atkin. This has been Justin Atkins, no relation. And I'll catch you next time on Eldino, live from Media Hub on riotradio.ca.